Well, guess what? It's snowing in Arkansas again. There's old Mr. Treeface out there. He's about frozen to death. It's the second time this year where we live, which is a very rare event. It's coming down. Looks really nice. I got to go to work here shortly, so hopefully it won't clog the roads up too much, but that's pretty. Kind of reminds me of my youth when I used to live up north. That's really nice. And of course the corner on the deck can't be used. And here comes Rocky. Rocky just barreling up the ramp. Here he comes. He said, "Let me inside." What's the matter, Rocky? Don't like that snow? Every vintage radio has a story to tell. Today I'll tell you the story of Laverne's Silvertone 18. You all saw Rocky earlier. This is he's about 4 months old. He weighs all of 6.5 pounds, I think he is. He's a miniature dachshund, and he was given to my wife by my grandson for Christmas. And he's just a frisky little thing. He likes to fight and wrestle and roughhouse every morning. So I thought I'd introduce him to everybody. Say hi, Rocky. Say hi. He's a good little feller. Well, we got Rocky back in the house now. He prefers to be with my wife anyway. It's nice and warm. As you can see, the snow is gone from the corner on the deck, and it's still pretty brisk out here, though. But at least we've got a little bit of sun. So let's get cranked up on Laverne's radio, Silvertone 18. Now, I'm not talking about model 18. In the catalog, the Sears Roebuck catalog, this was listed as item number 18, so it sort of picked up the name Silvertone 18. Now, it also came in a version of white, and that was the Silvertone catalog item number 20. And I have a picture of it here. It's kind of attractive. I kind of like it. I was thinking about maybe someday getting one for myself. This is what the white one looked like. I don't know if you can see that very well. I'll get behind the camera and maybe hold it out here where you can possibly see it. There we go. Kind of a nice looking radio. It's exactly the same, just in a sort of off-white tone. And that's the Silvertone catalog number 20, or Silvertone 20. This is a plastic radio. Sometimes you'll see them advertised on eBay as Bakelite. They're not Bakelite. They're plastic. And it is AM, FM. So is this one. And it's an 8-tube radio. A while back, a fellow I work with named Gary, his mother, a few years ago, was living alone. She was a widow, and she had a pickup truck that was left over from her husband. The pickup truck was in the carport. She had the tailgate down. Her name was Laverne, and she would go out and mess around every day. Well, apparently what happened was in June, I believe it's June of 2005, she was out in the carport, and from the best they can figure out, she slipped and fell and struck her head on that tailgate of that truck that was down. And she made it back into the house. This is the best they can figure now. And the next day she was found by a family member unconscious in a chair in her house. They rushed her to the hospital, and a couple days later she passed away from her injuries. I went to her funeral, and my buddy, Gary, her son, a while later, when they were cleaning out the house, I guess it was him and his sister and a few others were cleaning out his mom's house, they came across her old Silvertone 18 radio in an outside storage area. I believe it was in a carport somewhere. It had been sitting out there for probably 30 years in the Arkansas heat, and it got pretty well deteriorated. But Gary remembered his mom, Laverne, ironing his clothes and having this radio sitting in the window. I guess it was in the kitchen. This radio, she had the window open, and she would do this time and again. She would set this radio in the window while she ironed the clothes. And Gary said, I was just a small kid. I'd be out in the yard playing with my friends, and I could see my mom through that window listening to that radio while she ironed the clothes, which, of course, was AM radio in those days. And he said, do you think you could get Mom's old radio playing again for me. I said, well, bring it down. I'll certainly take a look at it. I can't guarantee anything. But I'll tell you, that radio was going to play at all costs. I didn't care what it took. Any person I know who wants his mom's old radio to be playing, it's going to play. So I worked on it. There was a lot of work done to this. A transformer was changed out. A speaker was changed out. A tube socket was changed out. All the capacitors were changed out. A bunch of resistors were changed out. The Arkansas heat really did a number on this radio. But when we got done, it played. And Gary was very happy to hear that. The FM had been totally disabled. I put it back together. It was purposely disabled by some repairman years ago. I guess he couldn't get it working. But I bent the tabs back where they're supposed to be and reconnected things and adjusted IF filters, and coils, all kinds of stuff. And we finally got her going. So Gary's pretty happy with it. And I just wanted you to notice the story of Laverne's radio. She was 77 years old when she struck her head on that tailgate and died a few days later. So we're happy to bring this to YouTube and to bring this to you. And that's the story behind this radio. So let's see if we can listen to it a little bit. That's the Wolf Station. Pretty bad music here today. Let's try a little AM here.
With care, that's pretty insurance. And as we get older, of course,
it's got great sound. Got a great bass sound to it. A lot of radios sound tinny, but I think the 8 tubes in this really helps it. It has a nice mellow sound.
Haven't had a chance to wear it.
The radio has no tone control, so I guess they just adjusted it to a nice bassy sound, and it's just pleasing to the ear.
No, it will not. Bounce one. Even air to it.
Anyway, that's it for Laverne's radio. Remember, every radio does have a story. Sometimes we get lucky enough to know what they are. From the corner on the deck, which is no longer covered with snow, the next radio we'll cover will be a Philco model 37610. What you doing, Rocky? What you doing, big boy? He's having a good time out here. First day he's had a chance really to go out and play around in the sun. We have to stay with him because there's a hawk that lives in the back acre over here where those trees are. He likes to get up there and swoop down and get rabbits and tiny dogs. We don't want that to happen to Rocky.